Hi guys, welcome back again. I hope you all stay in a good health, stay safe, stay home. I miss you all. I'm gonna continue our topic about the second quadratic equation, but please pay attention for this topic because this topic is very important for the next years and for the SAT test. So please pay attention. The quadratic formula. The quadratic formula. So we have something called general rule for any second quadratic equation. So what does that mean? That we have a rule, that we have the rules that we have now in the screen that can be solve any quadratic equations, that can solve any quadratic equation. But why we using this one? We take a factorizing. A factorizing can solve also the second quadratic equation. But why we have a general rule? So why we have a general rule? And what is this general rule consist of? So the general rule or the quadratic formula using for many quadratic equation cannot be solved by factoring. So the general formula or quadratic formula is using for any quadratic equation that cannot be solved by factoring. So, like the roots or the solution we have not a rational number. Like if we have the solution like this one, 1 minus square root 3. So this one can be found by factorizing? Of course not. Like this example, x over 2 plus 6x plus 7 equals 0. So, if you think about the factoring, we need two numbers. If you multiply them, you will get 7. If you make plus between them or add them, you will get 6. So, the factoring of 7, we have only two numbers, 1 multiplies 7. But if you add 1 plus 7, if you sum between 1 and 7, you will get 8. So this function or this equation cannot be solved by factorizing. So you cannot factorize this function. So you have to use the general formula. So again, so you can solve any quadratic equation by this rule. X equal negative b positive or negative because we have two solutions when x equal positive and when x equal negative. So negative b positive or negative square root b power 2 minus 4ac over 2a. So this one called general formula. But what is the a and what is the b and what is the c? So, what is the meaning of A and B and C in the general formula? If the equation like this one is called the general formula for the second quadratic equation, A x power 2 plus bx plus c equals 0. So, A is a numeral that goes in the front of x power 2. So, A is the coefficient of x power 2. A is the coefficient of x power 2. So P is a numeral that goes in the front of x. So the P is the coefficient of x. P is the coefficient of x. So again, A is the coefficient of x power 2. P is the coefficient of x. C is the numeral with no variable next to it, like this one. C is the number that it doesn't have any variable. So again, A is the coefficient of x power 2, B is the coefficient of x, C is that number that doesn't have any variable next to it. So again, try to solve this one. X power 2 plus 6x plus 7 equals 0. So, that's the example that we can't have by factoring. So we have to use by general formula. So A here equal the coefficient of x power 2. If we don't have any number next to x power 2, so a will equal 1. A will equal 1. So b here will equal 6, the coefficient of x. But the coefficient of x power 2 is a, so a equal 1, b equals 6, c is the number that doesn't have any variable next to it, so c equals 7. So a equal 1, b equals 6, c equals 7. So substitute these numbers in the general formula. X equal negative b, positive or negative, square root of b power 2 minus 4ac over 2a. So negative 6, positive or negative square root 36, so 6 power 2. B power 2 is b equals 6. So b power 2 is that 6 power 2 under the root, of course, minus 4 multiply a equal 1 multiply c equals 7 over 2 multiply a. 2 multiply a. So a equal 1, so 2 multiply 1. If you try this one first time in the calculator or in your mind, the first time when x equal positive number and x equal negative number. So when you write this one, you have to write in the calculator like this one. Negative 6, positive only, square root 36 minus 4 multiply 1 multiply 7 over 2 multiply 1. And the same that you have solved in here, so in the same in negative, but in negative case, instead of writing plus, you will write minus. So negative 6 and the same square root over 2 multiply a. So you have two solutions. The first solution when you have x and negative 6 plus, and the second solution when negative 6 minus. So this rule is very important. So when you substitute this number in the general formula, so x will equal negative 3 plus square root 2, or x equal negative 3 minus square root 2. So this is the first solution we have when x is positive, and the second solution when x is negative. So again, you have two solutions. When x is positive, so you will take the positive sign only, and when x is negative, so you will take the negative sign or minus sign only. So the general formula here using for the equation that cannot be factorizing, Another example, but please pay attention for this example. You have two ways to factorizing and general rule, but what is the sort of the solutions you will have to use? So if you use the factorizing, I give this example to make you understand. There is no difference between the factorizing and general rule, but factorizing using for one only method. If you have to factorize this function like or this equation like this one, so the first method is factorizing. So factorize will be, so you will open two bracket. So as you learn, equals 0. Here is x, here is x. So we need two number. If you multiply them, you will get 6. If you make submission between them, you will get 5. Of course, 2 and 3. You cannot using 6 and 1. Of course, this one will be wrong. Why? Because 6 plus 1 is 7, and the middle number is 5. So I need the submission between the multiplying number is 5. So if the last term is positive, so you will get the middle sign for both brackets. So x minus 2 and x minus 3, like we get here, x minus 3 and x minus 2. So each bracket will equal 0. Each bracket will equal 0. So x minus 3 equals 0 and x minus 2 equal 0. So here x will equal 3. So you will moving the negative 3 by different sign here. So x will equal 3. If you moving the negative 2 also to the other side of equal, so x will equal 2. So this step is very easy and you all know this step. But is there any difference between the general formula or general rule and the factorizing? So if we solving this one, the factorizing will get 3 and 2. But if we using the general rule like this one, secondly, the general rule for the same equation. So if I'm right, so you have to get by general rule x equals 3 and x equals 2. By the general rule, you will get x equals 3 and x equals 2. If I am wrong, you will get another solution instead of x equals 3 and x equals 2. So by general rule here, x to the power 2 minus 5x plus 6 equals 0. The same example of the last example. So if you're using the general formula that we have already, so a will equal, b will equal, c will equal. Before you solve it by general rule, you have to find a, b, and c. A is the number or the coefficient of x bar 2. So if we don't have any number, so a will equal 1. B here will equal the coefficient of x, so b will equal negative 5. C will equal the number that doesn't have any variable next to it, so C will equal 6. So E equal 1, B equal negative 5, C equals 6. If you substitute these numbers in the general formula, so we have uh, when x is positive and when x is negative. So if you substitute this number, negative b plus or minus square root b power 2 minus 4ac over 2a. So when x is positive and when x is negative. So x when positive will get x will equal 3, and when x is negative, so x will equal 4 over 2 or x equal 2. So the same solution we have by factoring is the same solution by general rule. So please, both solutions give you the same result. Both the solution give you the same result. But by factorizing, so x will equal 2 and x will equal 3. And by the general rule, x will equal 2 and x also will equal 3. So both ways give you the same solution. Both ways give you the same solution. But you have to know that the factorizing using only by one method when the function can be factorizing. So if we're using the factorizing in this one, so can you factorize this equation? Of course not. Here you can solve by only the general rule. By here you can use the general rule and also the factorization. But the general rule can be used for all quadratic equation. Any quadratic equation can be solved by the general rule. Okay, so another example, when y power 2 equal minus 2y plus 2. Y power 2 equal negative 2y plus 2. So you have to make a small move in the first to solve this quadratic equation, setting all terms equal to 0. So you have to moving the negative 2y to the other side of equal, and also the 2. You have to moving the 2 to the other side of equal. So you have to setting all terms equal to 0. So when you're moving negative 2y, so it will move by another sign, of course, so it will be positive 2y. And also when you're moving the 2, it will become negative 2. So y power 2 plus 2y minus 2 equals 0. So when a equal 1, b, a will equal here 1, the coefficient of y power 2, b will equal 2, c will equal negative 2. Before we continue, I need to ask yourself if you can use the factorizing in this equation. Do we have any number that if you multiply them you will get 2, and if you make minus between these numbers you will get also 2? So of course the factorizing can be no solving, uh, cannot be a solve in this equation. So you have to use the general formula. So y equal negative b, positive or negative, is square root power p power 2 minus 4ac over 2a. So if you substitute the number you get when a equal b equal c equal, when a equal 1, p equal 2, c equal negative 2, a equal, again, a equal 1, p equal 2, c equal negative 2. So if you substitute these numbers in the general formula that we have, negative b, positive or negative, square root p power 2 minus 4ac over 2a. So you have when y equal positive number or when y equal negative number, we are meaning them is the positive and the negative here, means when you substitute in positive in the first general rule in positive and the second in negative. So you will get negative 1 plus square root 3 and y equal negative 1 minus square root 3. So the both solutions are correct. So you have to use the general rule in any quadratic equation cannot be factorized. And if you got confused in any quadratic equation and you cannot solve this one, so use the general rule. The general rule is a rule that can solve any quadratic equation. Thank you guys for listening, and please pay attention in this topic because this topic is very important. So I hope I see you soon and stay in a good health.